I want to leave the legacy. I want to write my own stories, especially my mom and dad, and to inspire other people to write it down because everyone's story is worth spreading.
Welcome to Unexpected Journey Season 2. I'm your host, Ann Bibb.
Welcome Lucy Chen to the show today. Lucy is a certified human potential coach and psychological fitness specialist who founded Gifted Coaching, bringing with her 2 decades of mentoring and coaching experience. A distinguished Toastmaster, she excels in public speaking, career development, well-being, and financial coaching. Lucy also wrote the 5-star book, Build Resilience, Live, Learn, and Lead. Listen in to hear more about Lucy's unexpected journey.
Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments below. Now let's get started.
Lucy, welcome to the show. It is so great to finally get a chance to sit down and talk to you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for your invitation, Anne.
Absolutely. And, I am so excited to talk to you for a few reasons. One is obviously about your book that I have right here, but also that you have had just a really impressive career journey. And, the show is Unexpected Journey, right?
Yep.
So you've had such an impressive career journey. You transitioned from engineering to finance and now coaching, and really want to understand what inspired this shift and how each phase really contributed to your current role.
So I grew up in China, and up until my 24th birthday, I never took an airplane. Just think about that. Back then, there in China in the 1970s, 1980s, we were poor. So China was really poor back then. And of course, I didn't have the situation, or I mean, the environment, and also we're talking about affordability, right? But everyone was like that. And then so in 1994, when I turned to 24, I came to America just a month after my birthday. I came to America to pursue my graduate college graduate degree in environmental engineering. So bachelor's in environmental engineering and also master's from UCLA. So 1996, I graduated with the master's degree, and then I landed my first professional job, of course, environmental engineer. But 4 years later, in 2000, I changed my mind to become a financial data analyst. And
Why did
eventually,
you change your mind?
yeah, so there are a couple reasons I mentioned in my book. First reason was that back then in 1999, I got married. So my husband, we got to know each other from UCLA, our years there. He studied PhD and I studied master's. So I graduated earlier. I got my job. But when I moved to San Francisco, you know how it is that in Silicon Valley, everyone was talking about tech. Well, back then we didn't use the term of artificial intelligence or machine learning, right? The buzzwords now, but back then, internet, the everything about online e-commerce and everything. So I figured, well, maybe this is something that I can jump in, given that I have very solid math background and data analysis, and so STEM background. That's number one. Number two was that in terms of a professional advancement, I had some issues there. I wasn't expecting that California had a different criteria for professional engineering. Basically, California was the most stringent state to pass the qualification because they required you to take 2 additional exams. One is a seismic, given the earthquake, right? Number 2 was the land surveying. So I wasn't able to pass those 2 exams additional. I passed all of the exams in New York State, but because the license, professional engineering license, is state based. So I figured, well, I'm not a structural engineer. And just think about it, environmental engineering is totally different discipline. It's just but bucketed under the civil engineering. So that's another reason. And number 3 was that a lot of my friends around me, they jump into tech. They said, hey, this is really a hot field, and Lucy, you're smart. Why not that you jump into that? So long story short was that I changed my career. This is really for the first time. So 24 years ago, I changed from a environmental engineer to a data analyst and eventually finance data analysis manager. I almost became an actuary. You know, the insurance company, right? Actuarial services, that's a department that I was.
That would have been quite the shift right
Oh,
there.
yes. Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
find interesting is one of the things that several things stood out to me in your book, but you talk about evolving dreams and goals. And you're the epitome of that. And what was really fascinating to me is that you, at the age of 24, took your very first plane ride.
Yes.
And you come to the United States, and within, 10, 12 years, you have gone from taking your first plane ride to changing your career, and just the difference your life made in 10 years from that 24-year-old individual who had never even been on a plane,
Right.
to living in San Francisco, which is such a bustling city, and changing careers from engineering to finance. And what an amazing and wild ride.
It was indeed. I was really proud of myself, but really, I never really expected I would go to this route. But because of all of the factors all together, it worked perfectly for me. Initially, I was pursuing my professional engineering license in California in environmental engineering, but I switched.
What I
Yeah.
think is interesting as well is that in the moment, it feels unsettling almost to make these changes. And especially when you're going from someplace where, as you said, you feel like you have nothing.
Right.
And then you're getting on this big engined plane and going on the other side of the world to this land of opportunity.
Yes.
Where there's so much activity, and it's overstimulation in this environment. And what you've accomplished since then, and then you've changed routes multiple times,
Right.
and been successful at it. But you look back, and how much sense has it made when you look back and you think, all of the things that I've done actually have contributed to the success of where I am today.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Just if I do a reflection, I mean, I do constantly, a lot of amazing things happen. You know, to be honest with you, for example, my friends, right, who introduced me to really move on and switch my career. And for several times, we only covered the first portion, right, the first time that I changed from environmental engineering to finance. But also later on, it changed a lot, right? It's really evolving, and also because of my community, my friends around me. So that's why I mentioned in my book, really surround myself with inspiring people.
That is so nice. It's not, you mentioned inspiring people, but also supportive people.
Yes.
Because as these dreams evolve and grow, if you don't have inspiring and supportive people around you, then, because when your dreams evolve and grow, sometimes you're pivoting as greatly as you did. And if you don't have inspiring and supportive people around you, they might quash those dreams.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. I totally agree with you. And in my book, I mentioned about my mom and dad. They were solid. They just all the time, whenever that I feel, okay, I got defeated and I had this moment of negativity, I call them, especially my dad. He believed in me all the time, right? So really family and then friends. Definitely they are so instrumental in my journey.
There are so many amazing stories about your mom and your dad in your book.
Yeah.
I could not just pick one to talk about.
Right.
If we're talking about, because I want to I want to reference one really big outtake for me um, in a few moments. But if we're talking about specifically evolving dreams and goals,
Yeah.
who do you, if you had to choose between your mother and your father, who was the most supportive when it came to that? And could you tell us something, tie in a story that really kind of resonates there? Because I can't pick just one. There are so many fascinating stories about your parents in your book.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of stories that I shared with the audience. Maybe I'll just pick one for now. I shared about my mom's journey, right? So she grew up
The whole
basically. She
chapter about your mother.
read the whole entire chapter about her from she was born. She was born in 1938. Back then, when Japan invaded China, so she lost both of her parents during the war, and eventually her grandparents. So she's an orphan, and her survival itself was a miracle. And so that's why she described herself was little grass, was really resilient and trampled so many times, still thriving. So she's my role model. So come back to your question. So one thing that I learned from her was she always had dreams. Growing up is really hard, right? Survival itself is so, she struggled a lot, right? Illness and starvation and poverty, everything. And she moved around and lived with various relatives and everything. She always had a dream. So there are a couple of things. One was initially when she dreamed about meeting her father, she just didn't believe at the beginning that her father got killed in the battlefield because she didn't see the body. Right? She saw her mom die when she was 4, so this dream kept her going. And she mentioned that a lot of times when she got really sick and people just lost hope on her, and she felt like, okay, my father will wait for me, and someday I'll meet with him. So I'm gonna survive. So this really strong faith, very strong belief kept her going. So that's number one. And later on, of course, she realized that she just her father would never come home, and it's just most likely he already died, right? Um, but then number two was that she dreamed that her parents hoped her to have a really bright future. That's why they sacrificed themselves for her. So that's another belief that kept her going. That's number two. Another thing is when I grew up, I observed when she went to Sweden. I mentioned it in the book. When she was a 44-year-old, um, she got selected to be able to work in this very prestigious, very famous research institute in Sweden. Just think about her life. Throughout her life, she was really poor, right? Really lived a very modest living style. She never went outside of the country. She never took an airplane, similar to me when I mentioned earlier. But at the age of 44, she got this opportunity. She seized it. And her dream was to continuously to put our effort and to do research in the metallurgy field because she's a physicist. She studied the physics. But think about back in her college year, she never studied English. Russian was the language because back then China and the Russian were comrade countries. Right? She never got the opportunity, but because of her dream, it kept her going. She self-taught herself the English, and she hopped on the train. Took her 7 days to across various countries, right? Russia and also the East European and everything, and arrived to Sweden. It's really amazing to me. And she spent 2.5 years there, made a lot of achievements there. And she was recognized as one outstanding researcher. So, I mean, just long story short was that her hopes and dreams and everything just was like a fuel to propel herself forward. And I learned so much from her.
That's amazing. And it's so beautiful to hear someone talk so affectionately and inspiringly about their parent.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
now I do want to talk about something else on the book, but right now I want to give everybody an opportunity to know Lucy. So we have a game that we play to get everybody to know each other, and that's this or that. And the way we play it is for our new listeners, we get 2 words or phrases, and both of us have to pick which one we would prefer. And the only real rules of the game are you can't pick neither and you can't pick both. So are you ready to play?
Sure.
All right, let's see which words or phrases we get today. I'm going to click the button here, and the first word or phrase is ballet or contemporary dance.
I'll pick a ballet.
You'll pick ballet? Why do you pick ballet?
I learned ballet in 1997 when I was living in Buffalo, New York, and a long time ago. Let me know
You
if you want to.
learned ballet?
Yeah. I spent a
Oh,
year.
goodness. Oh my goodness. So I am also going to choose ballet. I love contemporary dance. I think it's beautiful and I love watching it. But there is just something about watching a beautiful and charismatic, just something about a ballet that just pulls at your heartstrings, especially whenever you are witness to somebody that has been studying ballet their entire life, and you can see how they move their body with the music. It just is, to use a word we've used frequently on today's show, inspiring, which contemporary dance can be as well, but there's something about that ballet.
Right. Very
So,
gracious, very classic. Yes.
exactly. All right, next words or phrases are, what are we going to get? We're going to get rain or sunshine. What do you
Great
choose?
question. Sunshine.
Sunshine? You know what? I actually am going to go with rain. Mine is because I'm in Texas and we don't get nearly enough rain. Not to mention, when the sun's out, it is hot here. So I do like the sunshine. I like the vitamin D. I do. And if we could keep the temperature at a nice, comfortable 75 degrees, I would probably pick sunshine. But here, I would like some more rain. Make sure that our crops and our grass grow.
True. You know, I found the pattern was that you really want something that you rarely see and you wish to have for, right?
Yes.
Same thing here. Because in San Francisco, it's really, we have had a lot of rains recently in the winter time, right? And it's cold, and I wish that we have more sunshine.
There you go. There you go. All right. Last question. And it is, let's see, what are we going to get? We are going to get sushi or Thai food.
I'll take a sushi.
Okay. Why are you picking sushi?
Well, first of all, sushi is one of my favorite food. Okay. And also simple to make. Well, it's not that simple, but some types of the sushi and I frequently make at home. Number two was that I just had my lunch and it's a Pai Thai, it's a Thai food. So remember the pattern. I want something that I wish that I don't have. So
I too am picking sushi for a little bit different reasons. First, I love sushi. It is one of my favorite foods. But for those frequent listeners on the show, I am a celiac. So there are a lot of foods that I cannot have. Sushi is one that I can have plenty of as long as we have gluten-free soy sauce and we make sure that we're not having tempura or anything like that in there. And I will eat all the sushi all the time, all the days. Well, thank you for playing the game.
thank you. Yeah, it is fun.
Well, now just kind of getting a little bit more into your book. One of the other things that stood out to me, and I like this because your book's called Build Resilience, Live, Learn, and Lead. And you make a point of talking about in a section about setting up a routine. And one of the things that you talk about that I don't think a lot of people do is do nothing time for ourselves. And that stood out to me because there are a lot of things I've heard before with affirmations and making sure you have the appropriate amount of sleep. And but this one, I thought, leaving space for ourselves to do nothing and help our mind rest and relax. And that is so true.
Absolutely. I totally believe in leaving a blank space or empty space for yourself. Is everything about self-care, self-compassion, and also be clear and focus. So I learned from my friends and also from based on my own personal experiences because a lot of times that my calendar was really full of packed meetings and everything, and that's not healthy because each one of us has the very or different mental capacity, but you need to have a rest time, really do nothing time. Well, even you choose to, okay, maybe read or listen to music or take a walk or something, but really there's no purpose there. Just to leave your to leave it for yourself, for your brain to take a break from constantly thinking and planning and getting ready for the next event. And I found it's really effective, especially for the past 12 months or so. Three of my close friends, and they were female friends, they got burnout and got to sent to the ER, emergency room. Yeah, so a lot of people learned the hard way. And that's why I embedded in my book. I think it's extremely important for the modern time people to rest, rest, and rest.
I think what is, and one of the reasons that this stood out to me is because, one, I never used to do this. But when I would accidentally do it, not
Mm.
with purpose, the reality of how creative I felt after a small break
Right.
was astounding. And it didn't really click with me initially of, well, you just let your brain rest. And now you feel refreshed and you're alive and your brain has all of this energy to come up with ideas and is just energized with fruitfulness. It didn't I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
took a few times of this happening before it just smacked me upside the head of saying, Anne, your brain needs to relax. You just need to chill out and give it even a 15-minute cat nap every now and then the amazing things that would come out of that session, I was able to reorganize things and think of great ideas for employee engagement and come up with brand new it was so amazing. I'm just getting excited thinking about it.
Me
And
too.
people
Me
don't
too.
realize how important it is.
Indeed, I totally agree with you. I think it's especially for nowadays, everyone is so attached to the social media and the phones and our gadgets every day. We need to really block your calendar to say, okay, this 10 minutes, I'll just do nothing. Even I just sit here, you know, and sometimes I do meditation, sometimes I just daydream. That's
We
really
said we weren't going to talk about our kids, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. One of mine cannot even come out of their room, go to the kitchen, and take dishes out of the sink and put them in the dishwasher without watching YouTube. And they're just one handed doing things like this. And I'm sitting there thinking, put that down. It would go so much faster if you just focused on what you were doing and used two hands. But there's always an attachment right here. And they're always focused on this.
right, right,
And
totally.
the
I,
stimulation, and then they complain that they're overstimulated. What is wrong with this picture?
Right. 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 I mean, to be honest with you, I think a lot of issues, uh, related to mental issues, are because of the social media. Because too much time and too much emotional impact from the social media. It's just yesterday. I know that. I hope that my daughter would not really hate me for saying that. That she complained, right? She was happy 1 minute ago, but after seeing something, she's totally just the opposite emotional status. And so I said, okay, what's going on? She wouldn't say, but keep on typing and keep on probably commenting on some post or something. And I was like, you gotta really take a break. So she wasn't happy, and of course, she had some uh, didn't feel very well and some coughing this morning. So I said, okay, stay at home. But around 9:30, I said, let's do a just 5 minutes meditation. Not only that, 5 minutes, or probably we took 7 minutes or so, not only helped her, but also helped myself. And she felt much calmer, and me too. So I feel, okay, yeah, this is really useful.
So you've moved from engineering to finance. Now you're in coaching.
Yeah.
That is another big shift. And how do you use some of the insights or strategies that you have laid out in this wonderful book, which we're going to put up a link at the end, to help professionals navigate challenges in their career in your coaching sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I call myself resilience coach, but it could really cover many aspects, right? We can talk about, okay, career advancement, self development, self compassion, self care, and also cultivating relationships, including with your kids, with the younger generations, and everything. So there are so many areas there, and I'm learning to apply what I've learned from the past, from my career, and also raising children, all of the principles that I mentioned in the book, and to my coaching sessions. Say for example, the relationship building and networking, and also paving the paths for the younger generations. So I give a lot of speeches or topics or workshops about, okay, how to raise resilient children or child. And a lot of the parents approached me, especially from my community, who immigrated from China and really exposed from both cultures, right? Chinese culture and American cultures, and raising their kids in America. And it's really, quite honest with you, it's really quite challenging. Because how we grow up is really different, not only because of, okay, the internet, the technology changes, and the environment, but also culture wise, very different here. And so based on my values and my experiences, I love to pour out my knowledge and experience um, to them. And not mentioning that a lot of college students were career wise, how uh, to build or expand the networking and advance to your next level in career. I give a lot of advice and utilizing the seven principles that I wrote in the book. Say for example, growth mindset, adaptability, keeping your hope, and spirituality, and living a simple life. Everything all together is about, okay, how you shift your mindset, how you reframe your narratives inside, and keep on growing and learning, and really with the dreams and the hopes in your heart.
So, Lucy, what made you? This is such a big step to write a book. And, a lot of individuals I know talk about it. A lot of individuals I know have been told, oh, you should write a book. Um, Actually doing it is another thing entirely. What helped you or kind of pushed you over the edge to say, I'm really going to do it. I'm going to write that book?
Great question. I'm so glad that you asked me this question. I mean, of course, a lot of my friends ask me the question. There are several reasons. Number one, 2 years ago, my father passed away. As I mentioned to the book my book, that he's the most influential person in my life, and he loved me the most. So when he passed away, I almost quit my job. I said, okay, I want to walk to a Camino, Camino, right? So in Spain, and this is a few years back, I spent a week just really walk to the Camino. And I want to go back, but because it's in the middle of the pandemic, I couldn't. So it took me a long time to heal. Meanwhile, I started writing about my father. So from the eulogy, I started writing more. And my daughters, they really like my writing. Said, "Hey, mom, you have a lot of good stories." That inspired me. So that's number one. My father's story, I think, is really, he's one of the most amazing people in my life. So I want to wrote about him. And number two was that while I was writing, I found, oh, I have a lot of good, valuable lessons and experiences I learned from him, and also myself. Because I have, at the side hustle, I have been coaching and mentoring other people. And I feel, okay, a lot of my experience maybe will benefit for other people, especially for those who immigrated to this country, and also women. Maybe they can benefit, right? Got inspired. So that's another reason. And I started kind of categorizing and summarizing all of the principles and to come up with, okay, this is the seven principles of building resilience. Number three, I wanted to inspire people. As you mentioned, okay, inspiring is the theme or the word of the day.
It's the word of the day. I
And
almost want to have, it's like every time we say inspire, I sure hope something came up.
right. So I believe everyone has amazing stories. And I want to inspire people who's with a similar background, women, right? API, Asian, and I want to inspire them to tell their stories. So one thing that I mentioned to my friend was that just think about 150, 200 years ago, that Chinese laborers helped to build the transcontinental railroads in America, right? So many lives lost were damaged, were families, and there's just a lot of uh, amazing things happened. But at the end, when they celebrated, there's no Chinese got invited to do the celebration. If you look at the historical documentary or film or photo, is hardly that you can see any Chinese face. I'm sure they are flesh and blood. They are real people, right? I wish there are a lot of documents, a lot of stories, a lot of books about those people. And I said, I don't want to become number. I want to be I want to leave the legacy. I want to write my own stories, especially my mom and dad, and to inspire other people to write it down because everyone's story is worth spreading. So that's another purpose.
I love that. I love that. So, for everybody who hasn't really seen it yet, this is Lucy's book, Build Resilience, Live, Learn, and Lead. And there will be a link to our Amazon store so that everybody can order it. Everybody needs a copy of this book. And Lucy, who would you say is your ideal, like who needs to, I mean, everybody needs to read it, but who would you say, if I'm looking at this, who needs to read this? Who are you targeting? Who were you thinking about when you wrote it?
Absolutely. I think number one, people would love my book was that someone has similar background, immigrated to this country. But I mean, just think about around yourself and how many people did not have immigration stories, right? I'm sure that you have, not if, even it's not from your parents, maybe your grandparents or your great uncles, all of people would love my story because I really share a lot of the common themes, how we uproot everything and then come to this country and to pursue our American dreams. It's really my book is about uh, yes. So that's number one. Number two, even that you are far away from immigration and families, if you feel that your life is stuck, right? You feel like, okay, I got laid off and I have financial burdens and oh, I have a breakup, with, marriage problems or health issues. My 7 principles will give you some ideas to restore, to believe in yourself and to cultivate yourself and to say, hey, I have my inner strength. I have my innate intrinsic value and I can overcome those obstacles and to get out of the troubles and challenges. So that's number two. Number three, I think I mentioned about inspiring the younger generations. And actually, a lot of my friends, they support me by purchasing the books and they send another copy to their children, adult children, and even the high schoolers. The youngest was only 16. And my friend said, oh, his child even wanted to cry because a lot of stories they were like, oh, that's how you survive the war and that's how you struggled with the food, the lack of food and the starvation and everything. Yeah, so even my friends and the kids. So the I think the book is really for younger generation, not only from the historical perspective to look at, okay, China's change in half centuries or 80 years ago, how China was doing back then and during the war, but also to help understand really in the context of human survival. Humans are indeed resilient. So I hope that this is really inspiring people to really learn more and to do the self development and keep on learning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, why would somebody reach out to you, Lucy? And then how would they reach out to you?
A couple of reasons, based on my experience when people that who don't really know me, right?
Mhm.
For one is seeking advice when they got stuck in life, as I mentioned. A lot of them are particularly seeking advice and coaching when they got laid off, lost job or switch career. Since I mentioned, okay, a couple of times that I switched career successfully, and I had many cases that I helped the people to find their confidence and to land a job. Especially someone that either at the beginning of their career, like a college students, or the midlife crisis, right? So just really a spectrum, various reasons. And number two, I would say a lot of parents reach out to me, as I mentioned, okay, how to raise a resilient child. So they want to understand, because if we're talking about, okay, 30, 40 years ago, nowadays totally different. I mentioned a cassette, recording cassette to my children. They had no idea what is cassette. What are you talking about?
Try mentioning an 8-track to them.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of things, like they had no concept, right? Like, remember the dialed phone? They saw it from the TV or the movie.
Heck. Even doing this, they're like, what are you doing?
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So culture wise, and also for now, time wise, is so different. And people are struggled with, okay, the major theme is mental health, because a lot of immigrants, parents like myself, we consider ourselves, okay, very resilient. We don't need to learn that. But how can you cultivate the relationship, help your children to acquire this? That's another different topic,
Another different topic. Well, I'm surprised when you mentioned people who have been laid off reaching out to you on how to pivot their careers and find new careers. With as many layoffs as are happening right now, I'm surprised your phone's not ringing off the hook.
I know.
Talk about a reference that people don't understand, ringing off the hook. I mean,
another saying, right? Another saying that young people wouldn't scratch their heads.
What do you mean off the hook? I mean, they hear it and they know what it means, but they don't understand where that came from, ringing off of the hook.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but really, actually, a lot of people reach out to me and seeking advice, and especially high tech, right? So probably from a year or two ago, started just waves of layoffs from the Silicon Valley. Just recently, 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine pinged me through LinkedIn and say, "Hey, Lucy, I have this news, and do you have any contacts or referrals?" So I try to search from my network and help him. But really, nowadays just a lot of pressures I could see from the young people. I mean, even people like a similar age as me. So I have the passion to help out. Yeah.
And what is the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so I have my website. It's called giftedcoaching.info. And people always
right down here so that everybody can see it.
Yeah. So so gifted coaching. So I'm not sure. Are you asking me to write it here, or
nope? It's down here. We're going to put that up here for everybody to see.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. And another way is I'm really active on LinkedIn, so people can reach out to me. So professionals, of course, right? LinkedIn is a must. So, and I teach people how to modify their resume and how to uplift their LinkedIn profile. So a lot of people reach out to me via LinkedIn.
That is wonderful to know, because I know a lot of people right now who are looking just for that. So now all of you who are looking to update your LinkedIn profiles, really make sure that you're standing out in today's world of layoffs and looking for jobs. Now you know who to reach out to. And Lucy's LinkedIn information is going to be below as well. So you can reach out to her and make sure that you tell her that you saw her on Unexpected Journey so that she knows as well. And Lucy, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been such a joy talking to you, and really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my experience with everyone. Really enjoy this discussion.
Absolutely. And everybody else, thank you for joining us as well. And we will see you again next time.
As we wrap up the episode, we would like to take this time to thank you for joining us this week on Unexpected Journey. Our guest information will be linked in the episode description, along with a link to our host website, Bibb.com, and our sponsors' websites, remoteevolution.com, ethossupport.com, and yourcohort.co. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on your favorite podcast app and on our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode and we can continue to bring them to you. Let us know your thoughts on what we discussed in the comment section. And once again, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again next time on Unexpected Journey.